This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for What in the World with Paul Siebert and his sidekick, John Donalo. And we are recording, so you'll have to stream us in the future. But in the meantime, we're here. It's in the now, correct?
Yeah,
Okay. So
Real
it
we
time.
is
are in the now. Oh,
Tuesday.
motivational. We are in the now. Yeah,
We are in the
we're
now. And it is
yes.
Tuesday, October the 1st already. And Paul, what are we going to talk about today?
What? Oh, well, it's October 1st. You stole my thunder. That's it. That's I have nothing else. We'll see you next week, everybody. October 1st. What a that's both exciting and depressing. That where's the year going? I had hi there everybody. This is Paul Seaburn, by the way. Before so you don't tune in and think who's what podcast am I listening to? This is What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. And to finish that thought, October 1st, this past weekend, I was out raking leaves already. It's too early to be doing that, but nonetheless, we are doing it. So, I hope it's wonderful where you're at. I don't even want to mention the weather. We were just talking about some of our friends that live in the path of the Hurricane Helene, and hopefully everybody's okay. So far, it sounds like the people we know are in good shape. We hope you're in good shape. If you're listening to us, that's always a good sign. So, think about everybody in the path of that hurricane, and hope that one of these days we figure out how to both prevent them and take better care of our landscape so we don't suffer as much as we do. And enough
Well,
on that. So, oh
just
yes,
1 second, as long as you're talking about that.
yes.
Um, Please check with New Cleveland Radio because one of my very good friends is putting together a concert at the Beechwood Ballroom to help the survivors of the hurricane. So
Oh,
Charlie Weiner is putting it together. And those of you who know Charlie, he is both a musician and a comedian, and there's going to
yes.
be some great talent. So as soon as we have the date and everything, I will post it, and let's support all of our friends.
Yes, definitely. Oh, if Charlie's involved, it's going to be good. He's very, very talented, multi-talented guy. Super, super. Yeah, keep us posted on that. That voice that you heard, by the way, is Karen Hale, our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform. Great platform for us to be on. You can find our podcast there. Well, where we're at, we're on YouTube, we're on all the other major platforms. So go there, find out how to download us, and definitely check us out on YouTube. I want to mention that we always have photos that go along with the show. We describe them as best we can, but it's always fun to go take a look at YouTube and see what we're talking about. Um, the So go to newclevelandradio.net to find out about Karen's podcast, and also to find out about Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, her coaching services that is also our sponsor. So we're thrilled to promote a great coaching service through our great platform. So I mean, greatness is Karen Hale, and
Oh,
that's your new motto. And
okay.
also, another voice that you haven't heard in your other ear yet, but you'll be hearing plenty from him today. That is my old buddy John Donalo, host of What in the World of Sports, and our color commentator. Hey, John, how are you this week?
Oh, hey, Paul and Karen and audience. Well, I am well, and looking forward to another good show.
I know one of John's favorite teams won this weekend and one did not. So I'll let you guess which ones they are. If you're a long time, you'll figure it out. Because we've got some super super great stories this week, and I want to get right to them. Let's see. I got it. I got some shout outs. So I've heard this week from Brian down in West Virginia, from Mark in Austin, from Bill in Houston. Old friend of mine, old comedy buddy. He listens to the show. He loves listening to What in the World. Let's see who else. Dave in Don down in Florida. I'm sorry, Don. Don's doing okay. He survived the hurricane, so I hope he's listening today. Let's see. I think that's about it for the shout outs. So by all means, look me up on Facebook or send a message to Karen at newclevelandradio.net, and we'll be more than happy to give you a shout out. Tell us what you think, what your favorite stories are, how much you love me more than John, stuff like that.
Hey, wait
Uh,
a minute. I'm looking for equal time here. What's going on here?
we have such a good time here on What in the World. Let's see. Let's get right to it. So speaking of John loves Bigfoot. I've got a Bigfoot hunt with a twist. Wait till you hear this, John. You'll love
Okay.
it.
All right.
With a photo, a couple of photos of Bigfoot, by the way. Loch Ness Monster on vacation. A couple of photos of a lot of Nessie, relaxing. Um, an unexpected surprise in the Miss South Korea beauty pageant. Karen, this is one for you. You'll like this. Uses for a really big hat. John doesn't have a hat on today. John is our hat guy. So we're going to get his expert opinion on that story when we talk about it. Back to Karen, the world's strangest hair rollers. You've worn hair rollers in your
Oh,
life?
absolutely. Yeah.
Wait till you see these. This is an interesting story here. The weird word of the week. This may become a regular feature. The weird word of the week, um, and maybe not. Once you hear the word, we'll see. You'll barely eat one of these potato chips. I've got some Lay's potato chips that you're certainly going to think twice about eating more than one. Plus some more odd news. We've got world records. We've got trivia. John's got a great strange sport for us this week. And then, of course, at the end of the show, we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-host. So let's get right to it so we can get to Bluff the Co-host. And to John, starting with, let's get my papers together here. Speaking of Bluff the Co-host, this first story sounds like it should be on Bluff the Co-host, but it's a real story. And let me bring up our photos here. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'll describe them for you. For everybody else, there's our logo. There's my book, What Would You Say to a Naked Space Alien? Available on Amazon and at www.paulseaburn.com. So take a look at that. My favorite collection of all my favorite weird alien stories. Okay, so an 80-year-old woman from South Korea recently shocked the world by qualifying as a finalist in the Miss South Korea pageant. That's a photo of her, two photos of her, as a matter of fact, 80 years old. Before we go any further, this is the Miss South Korea pageant. This is a real pageant. There was no swimsuit competition. So get that picture out of your head. The 80-year-old competitor in the swimsuit. They didn't have a swimsuit competition. Don't start thinking what your grandma would look like in the Miss USA pageant. They don't have to be in a swimsuit. She didn't have to put on a glitter outfit to twirl a baton for talent. We'll get to that. Okay, so her name is Choi Soon-hwa. She became eligible when the Miss South Korea pageant changed their rules. This is part of the Miss Universe, by the way. So they changed the rule requiring participants to be between the ages of 18 and 28. There is now no upper limit on the ages to enter the Miss South Korea pageant, which I guess would hold true for Miss Universe. They also lifted the ban, get ready for this, on pregnant women who have had children, so it could be a Mrs., not a Miss, or have ever been married. They also eliminated, and I mentioned they eliminated the swimsuit competition. So, John, if they eliminate one more rule, you and I could enter the competition as well.
Paul, I guess that's a possibility, Paul, but I think we'd be stretching the boundaries on that one, so to speak.
So both of you can see a very stunning lady. She doesn't look 80 to me. And I don't know. What do you think? I've got one more.
She's attractive.
Yeah, she's attractive for sure. Yeah.
So she says, there's the evening gown competition.
Wow.
There. Evening gown. Yeah. Oh, she looks absolutely gorgeous in the evening gown. She says, looking beautiful on the outside is important, but so is looking good on the inside. You know, we used to hear that all the time. When your mother was fixing you up on a blind date, that's what she always said, and you thought, oh no. Uh, but anyways,
Oh, no, you always heard that the girl had a great personality.
Yes.
person,
Whenever you heard that, whenever you heard you had a great personality, I think you knew what the next thing was going to be.
that's right, that's right, and they turned out to be lovely women in their own right, and that's all we're going to say about that. But I'm thinking she's 80 years old. What does she mean, beautiful on the inside? Is she going to bring her X-rays from her last doctor's appointment? I don't think I want to see that as part of the competition. So she said she's been working as a senior fashion model since she was 72. So she didn't get into this business until later in life. She was on the cover of South Korea's AARP magazine swimsuit edition. So, she's she's not afraid to show it, just not in this pageant. So the pageant was held over the weekend. This is we know how she finished, and she was one of the finalists. So she was in the top 5, but she did not win the competition. The winner was a 22-year-old. Although this lady did win the talent competition by baking cookies for the judges. So,
Oh yeah, everyone has their price.
there's a talent for you, right? Okay. Oh, here we go. Get it? We're going to start with the world records here. So, Joshua Kaiser of Brenningsville, Pennsylvania, set a Guinness World Record recently for the world's tallest hat. This was a very popular story. I posted this on Facebook this week, and a very, very popular story. There's a photo for those of you who can see on YouTube. The hat is 17 feet 9.5 inches high. And in order to set the record, he had to walk while wearing this hat 32.8 feet without it falling off of his head. The hat weighed 26.4 pounds and was made using gutters, lightweight gutters and foam to keep it rigid and on his head. When he was done, he sold it to a magician who wants to replace his rabbit with a giraffe. Here we go.
Good one.
If it wasn't for the record, I'd say this was more like a "what was he thinking" cap.
Yeah.
All right, good one.
Why would you do something like this other than to set a world record? It reminded me, it's made out of gutters. That's how he got it to be 17 feet high and not fall over, not collapse. And John, that reminded me. I think we saw the gutter heads open for Foghat back in the day. I don't remember.
I'm glad you brought that up. But I'm gonna have to plead lack of memory on that one too, Paul. So, but I'm gonna trust your judgment or your memory on that, I should say. So, okay, all right.
So, John, anyways, you're our hat guy. What's the highest or tallest hat that you have?
Boy, I tell you what, can't be anything more than 6 inches. I don't wear very, very tall hats. I just wear a lot of athletic hats, for athletic
caps and hats.
Right? But no, it's nowhere near what this gentleman has here. Nowhere near.
I have an Amish hat that I got from Amish country, one of those black hats, and that's probably the highest hat that I have. If it's 6 inches, I'd be surprised any more than that. But when anybody thinks of tall hats, they think of top hats or stovetop hats, which of course Abraham Lincoln was famous for. The stovetop hat actually came into being in the 1840s and 1850s, and it has straight sides. It was not completely flat on the top. It actually had one side was slightly taller than the other to make it look like an actual chimney or stovepipe. So that's why it was called a stovepipe hat. Or a chimney pot hat was the other name that they used. And Abraham Lincoln really did make it famous in the United States. I didn't know this. He used to carry documents and letters inside of his hat. Uh,
That's
Interesting.
a good one, Paul. Yeah.
can you imagine any president or presidential candidate? You know, I didn't even want to mention what one of them is famous for wearing caps. I can't imagine him carrying papers underneath or his wallet. Maybe his golf card he might carry underneath.
There you go. There you go.
John, thinking about the stovepipe hat, I thought of a side gig that we could get into, and that's taking stovepipe hats and turning them into beer can hats, which would make them the world's tallest beer can hat. Think about it.
Well, that's a category, obviously, for Guinness, right? Sure.
Yeah. I don't care about Guinness. You don't want to get any money from Guinness. I'm thinking we could go down to the Browns game and go through the tailgate area, and we could sell a ton of these things.
You could.
Yeah, a hat that holds a 12 pack of
okay. All right.
Or whatever the most popular beer is down there. I know it's not Stroh's, but it's got to be something.
Probably Bud Light.
Bud Light. Really, Bud Light? You think that's the most popular beer down
there? So yeah, I mean, I don't go to do that really anymore, but that's kind of what I think. Yeah.
Too old, too dangerous? Does it get dangerous down there, or is it?
No, it's just that I just prefer just to go to the game and then go home, and have hopefully the excitement provided by the Browns as opposed to the tailgaters or the crowd or anything like that. So
I got you. Okay, all right. We're sticking with the food theme for a minute here. A team from Kraft Heinz set a new Guinness World Record for the world's largest cheesecake. World's largest cheesecake weighed 15,008 pounds. That's 7.5 tons. It was baked at the annual Cream Cheese Festival in Lowville, New York, where the winning cheesecake was later sliced up and given to food banks. Now, this thing looks like it's a good 15 feet wide. It's far bigger than John's hot tub. I know that.
Yes, it is.
It's close to swimming pool size there. So it took so much cream cheese. They took so much cream cheese out of Philadelphia and took it to New York to make this, that the Pennsylvania actually tilted upwards from Philly and tilted down towards Pennsylvania, towards Pittsburgh.
Oh, Paul, where's your horn on that one? You got your horn there?
I had a hard time getting it out. That was
okay. That's all right.
Believe it or not, it was a big job, but it took less time to bake the cheesecake than it does to read an entire Cheesecake Factory menu.
Right.
That's a good one. I like that, Paul. That's a good one.
The menu at Cheesecake Factory is like a Bible. It's got there's the old version, there's the new version. There's the cheesecake according to John, the cheesecake proverbs. Honest to God, I spend way too much time reading the menu there and not eating.
Paul, do you have any idea how many pages are in the menu for the cheesecake?
No, that's a good trivia question. I'm going to write that one down because we could do a whole thing on Cheesecake Factory here.
There you go.
Instead, we're going to talk about cheesecakes. The first cheesecake, good lead in, John. The first cheesecake was made over 4,000 years ago, believe it or not, in the 5th century BC by the ancient Greeks on the island of Samos. So the first cheesecakes actually came from ancient Greece. They made them with patties of fresh cheese that were then pounded smooth with flour and honey. So they took the cheese and they pounded it flat with flour, added some honey. Then they baked it on an earthenware griddle, which makes it sound more like not like a cake, but more like a cheese pancake, a nice flat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
They should bring that back. I would eat that. I like pancakes. I like cheesecake. I'd eat a cheesecake pancake. Maybe
sounds like a new food.
A Cheesecake Factory. Do they have breakfast at Cheesecake Factory?
No.
I don't know. I'm not aware of that. Do they?
This could be their breakfast. Cheesecake pancakes. Call me, Cheesecake Factory. If you're out there, call me. Going back to the ancient Greeks, believe it or not, cheesecake was considered to be a great source of energy. And there's evidence that the athletes during the first Olympic Games in 766 BC, one of the foods that they ate was flat cheesecakes. They're sitting there naked. They competed naked, but they're sitting there. I guess the flat cheesecake would be good to hide if somebody showed up that you didn't want them to see you. The only athletes eating cheesecake now have got to be sumo wrestlers. I can't think of anybody else who needs to eat a cheesecake. So cheesecake is huge in the United States. It was brought here by the English, who got it from the Greeks, I guess. In the 1730s, Philadelphia became the home of Philadelphia cream cheese. There was a cheesecake house restaurant there, which was the inspiration. But in the 1930s, the recipe for cheesecakes changed dramatically. The previous ones were made from curdled cheese, like cottage cheese or ricotta. They brought cream cheese over from Europe, and they started using the solid cream cheese instead of the other kind of cheese. And they invented a whole new cheesecake, which became, famous as the A, Jewish cheesecake, or B, New York style cheesecake. Karen, do you make cheesecake? Speaking
Yes,
of,
I do.
yeah, do you have a good recipe?
I make one with cream cheese, but I also make one with farmer cheese.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
I bet that's good.
This more like a cheese pie rather than a cheesecake.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
wow. Oh, now I'm hungry. Um, Philadelphia cream cheese, believe it or not, is made in New York. It was until the factory burned down. It was made in New York until the factory burned down, and it was in the vacant factory in, guess where? Philadelphia. So, and it was run by the Phoenix Company. So, so Philadelphia cream cheese, invented in, popularized in New York, made in Philadelphia by the Phoenix Cheese Company. If you're in New York, what is Philadelphia cream cheese called? A schmear. Everybody should know that. That's a Yiddish word. John, I'll let you handle the trivia here. Yiddish word for what? Did I lose you? Oh, there we are. I completely stunned him there.
I am stunned.
You don't know what a schmear is?
Schmear. What? It's not. It's not the Yiddish word for smear. No. Any guesses, Karen?
Well, a schmear is like a slab.
A slab. Yeah. It's actually the Yiddish word for cheese. So at your next trivia bowl, you can use that one.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Good.
All right, let's move on from cheesecake. We've talked about this lady before. She made the world's widest wig a few months ago. Her name is Helen Williams. She's in Nigeria. She's made the longest handmade wig, which was 1,152 feet 5 inches, and the widest wig, which we talked about, 11 feet 11 inches wide. Another inch and it would hide a car. That's how big it was. She just got 2 more world records recently. She's got the record for putting the most hair clips in a wig in 30 seconds. She put 94 clips in her wig in 30 seconds, and the most hair clips on a head in 30 seconds with 97. So most hair clips on a wig, 94. Most hair clips on an actual head, 97. I don't know what the difference is, but anyway, she got 2 world records out of it. There's a picture of her putting the clips in her hair. Can you do it that fast, Karen?
No.
No, I don't think anyone can. I said, in fact, her husband said, despite the fact that she can put the clips in her hair that fast, she's still never ready when they're supposed to go out. So,
of course not. Yep.
Something's never changed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No matter where you're at, John. She says, now this is true. She says she thinks she's addicted now to breaking records for wigs. So she's starting to work on. She's trying to come up with some other ideas for records that she can break. I think she's addicted to never having to wash her hair, which is why she likes to wear wigs so much.
Got a point.
So, yeah, I have a suggestion for her, and that is the most rollers in your hair, most hair rollers in your hair, either real hair or wig hair. Uh, what are rollers for, Karen?
Oh, to curl your hair.
For curling your hair. That's right. The they go back thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians were the first to make to curl hair with rollers. They used wooden sticks and sat out in the sun, and that's how they heated it up to curl the hair. The ancient Greeks used hollow metal rods heated in ash. So they would put the yeah, I know, like they go out camping, I guess, and have a campfire. And then when the campfire burned out, they'd stick the metal rods in the ash, and then say, "Hey, women, come over here." And then they had the hot rods for them to not the other kind of hot rod. The various hot rods that we could be talking about, but these are hot rods for your hair.
Okay.
In 1930, I know, John, you were thinking the same thing I was. In 1930, the American Solomon Harper invented the first electric curlers. So, first electric hair rollers or curlers were invented by an American in 1930, and people like Marilyn Monroe and other Hollywood actresses started being seen in public or in photos wearing them, and as a result, they became popular worldwide. Now, if you need big curls, Karen, what do you use?
An orange juice can.
The orange juice can. That's right. The here's a picture of a girl from the 50s or 60s with orange juice cans in her hair. You know, John, you had a sister. I had younger sisters. I remember them using cans before they, for certain hairdos. I never did quite understand it, but they actually did it.
I don't think my sister used cans, but I do remember having her. She did have rollers though. So yeah, I remember that. My mom, for that matter, also.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Karen, if you didn't have a juice can, what did you use? And you didn't have an electric roller.
We went out and bought curlers.
Went out and bought curlers. Okay.
Yeah.
You would other people, which I have some photos of here. I was doing some research on hair rollers and other things that women have used as hair rollers. One is soup cans. This young lady has one, two,
Yeah.
three, four, five, six, at least six soup cans rolled into her hair. She doesn't look too happy about it either. I don't know. Maybe it's the smell of tomato soup that's overcoming her while she's waiting for the
Or
curls.
somebody taking her picture while her hair is in curlers.
There you go.
It looks like she has a school uniform on. I hope this wasn't her yearbook picture.
Yeah, really.
Okay, another one. Coke cans. Here's two ladies who have Coca-Cola cans in their hair.
Wow.
And this looks really modern. This looks like a modern thing. I think those might be a little bigger than soup cans, or maybe smaller than soup cans, but bigger than juice cans. So I was thinking, who else would use something like this? And the first name that comes to mind is Rapunzel. You know, the world famous Rapunzel. Rapunzel, let down your hair. Her hair was so long that it stretched from the top of the tower where she was being held prisoner down to the ground. What would she curl her hair with? Paint cans. That's what I was thinking. Much bigger, or maybe a beer keg. If whoever was down on the ground wanted to help her out, a beer keg. These are the largest ones that I could find for sale. So someone took advantage of the idea and said, "Hey, ladies, you don't have to use the beer cans or soup cans or orange juice anymore. Here's some giant rollers for you." So there's a lovely lady with some giant rollers here.
And they made it with Velcro, so your hair would stick to the Velcro.
Oh, I think, I was reading that, Karen. It might be, I think that's what these are. It looks like she's got Velcro wrapped around the roller. So that does work, that the Velcro, your hair sticks to the Velcro?
Yeah, and try taking your hair out of that. That hurts.
It hurt.
Oh boy.
Okay, we've now learned more than we wanted to learn. We'll move. Chinese scientists have developed a magnet that set the world record for the most powerful magnet pole at 42.02 Tesla. If you don't know what a Tesla is, or 42 Teslas, it's so strong they were able to stick an entire refrigerator to the magnet. Instead of sticking the magnet to the refrigerator, they stuck a refrigerator to the magnet. Now here's the magnet. It's an electric magnet, so it's not the kind that you stick to refrigerators. But I thought, everybody's familiar with refrigerator magnets. The first refrigerator magnets were invented. They were hard. They weren't the flexible ones like we have now. They were made out of some sort of ferrite material like iron ore. And the decorations were stuck on them with adhesives. They were created in the 1920s, which is about when refrigerators started becoming really popular as a home appliance. So, 1920s, what did you use a refrigerator magnet for? To hang your list of things that you need to get from the bootlegger.
That's a way of looking at it, Paul. Yeah.
That's right. Louise Greenfarb of Henderson, Nevada, for many, many, many years. And in fact, she's deceased now, but she's the record holder for the most unique, the most unique refrigerator magnet. When she passed away, her collection went on to her son, who counted over 65,000 refrigerator magnets, unique refrigerator magnets.
Oh my gosh.
This a small portion of it, this photo right here. I'm sure her house, she must have had metal walls. Maybe she lived in a trailer and she could just stick them on the outside, stick them on the inside, on the floor, on the ceiling. She should have been buried in a casket shaped like a refrigerator. I think that would have been appropriate. Maybe on her tombstone, the words "stuck here forever." But I don't know. That's just my thought. And enough on that. Okay. A couple weeks ago, our regular listeners will remember we talked. There was a story about Heinz. Heinz makes ketchup in the United States. Around the world, they make all kinds of different sauces that you put on sandwiches and burgers and hot dogs. They're not that popular in the United States, but they're more popular like in England. So Kraft owns Heinz now in England, teamed up with Pepsi to create Pepsi makes snacks. So they combined to make a new mix made out of Monster Munch. So this is for Halloween. It's called the Heinz Good Monster Munch Mayo. And basically what it is Heinz mayonnaise and these pickled onion chips. Walker's Chips is the brand name. I guess all crunched up and pulverized and mixed in with the mayonnaise and stuck inside this just in time for Halloween. Monster Munch, Good Monster Munch Mayo. That's what it is. Good Monster Munch Mayo, which sounds like it'd be, something to put on your sandwich while you're drinking your jack-o'-lantern spice latte on Halloween.
Very timely, Paul. Very timely.
Very timely. That's right. I think some of the restaurants should be serving that. I'm thinking Heinz and everybody in England. If you're having problems with your mayonnaise that you need to be mixing stuff in, you need to go to a Mayo Clinic.
Oh.
There we go. Work that bad pun in there. So, another friend of the show, Sherilyn. I hear from her all the time. She sends me weird stuff. So she contributed to this story. She sent me a picture of her favorite potato chip in honor of this story that I put on Facebook. Her favorite potato chip is this one, the Lay's pepperoni dog fart flavored potato chips. Believe it or not, there's a picture of the bag right there. There's a picture. It's got pepperoni on it and it's got a dog farting. Must be real, right? So I did. John, does that appeal to you?
No, not in the least does it appeal to me. I hope this is some kind of hoax or sham, Paul. Explain it to us.
your investigative reporter here at What in the World decided to look further into this, and I found a few more along the same theme. So here we have Lay's orange juice and toothpaste flavored potato chip.
Oh,
Oh,
Minty,
oh,
citrusy yet minty. And I continued to dig, and I found these. So Lay's seventh grade locker room flavored potato chips, Lay's crunchy frog and blue cheese potato chips, and this is the worst one, Lay's kettle cooked placenta flavored
oh my
potato.
oh,
God.
no. Paul, are these actually being manufactured and marketed?
Well, almost, John. But Lay's, and this must have been in Europe, they conducted a contest, and a very serious contest. They were asking their customers, what new flavors should we consider for Lay's potato chips? And believe it or not, the customers decided to turn it into this and came up with the absolute weirdest, worst flavors that they could think of. And
Okay.
this was just five of hundreds and hundreds that they turned in. Um, so, keeping with this theme, is our word of the week. Again, we'll see if we continue to do this as a weekly special. So, our word of the week comes from China. Media sources in Nanning, China, were reporting on a newly laid sewage pipe, which accidentally exploded. And this is a picture of the end result of the explosion of this sewer pipe. So it sent excrement, that's the nice name for it, excrement 33 feet into the air. The They described it as a vortex of excrement splattered across the highway, covered cars, buildings, and even pedestrians. Now the Chinese know what we feel like when we watch election coverage here.
Oh, oh.
Oh,
So the word of the week comes from the Chinese media. Their word for this was a poo-cano. A poo-cano. That's
uh,
P-O-O-C-A-N-O. A poo-cano.
get the horn
John,
on that one, Paul. You got the horn to
well, John,
signify.
before I take the horn, I think we saw Poo-cano open for the Butthole Surfers back in the day.
Oh, okay. All right.
You may not have been a Butthole Surfer fan. I had a friend down in Houston who was a Butthole Surfer fan, and he turned me on to their music. Needless to say, I don't listen to it anymore. Uh, but anyway, Poo-cano, what do you think? Should we continue with word of the week?
Yeah, let's try to come up with something a little more clean next week, maybe. Something a little
Okay,
more clean.
sounds good. Oh, all right, all right. So this story comes from India. So Indian college student Tapala Namadumi sucked up the Guinness World Record for the world's smallest vacuum cleaner. That's it. It's an actual working vacuum cleaner measured a quarter of an inch wide. So it's pictured here with a fly. The fly is actually too big to be sucked into this vacuum cleaner. It has a tiny rotating fan in it powered by a 4-volt vibration motor, sucks up dust particles, such as this. Here's an illustration of the vacuum cleaner at work picking up dust particles, uh, which can then be emptied out. Despite this small size, it scared the crap out of the guy's dog. So,
Wow.
dogs hate vacuum cleaners, even the tiniest ones. Maybe maybe you could use this in your Barbie dream house. I don't know. Um, Made from a ballpoint pen. And I was just thinking, if I say ballpoint pen, that means for a younger listeners, I have to explain what a ballpoint pen is, which I was thinking, well, a ballpoint pen is what they invented because we couldn't use fountain pens anymore. And then I thought, oh, great, now I got to explain what a fountain pen is. Which worse, I probably, if they're young enough, I have to explain what a vacuum cleaner is because nobody does vacuum cleaning anymore. They have a Roomba or something. So I decided to pass on that.
Oh,
Hey,
boy.
Bigfoot, because I know that's what John's been waiting for.
Absolutely.
Bigfoot.
Yes, I have been.
Here we go, John. This first Bigfoot story comes from Texas. This was an ad in a newspaper in Texas. Now, I don't know the name of the newspaper, but they assured me that it is from Texas. I'm going to put it up here and I'm going to read it to everybody. So, this is under the help wanted. This ad says, human bait needed. Volunteer position for Bigfoot research project. this fall in Texas. Safety not guaranteed. Must have strong work ethic, and some camping skills. Reward, fame. Visit human-bait.com to apply. So, first off, I'm thinking I would do it. I'd make John come with me though, because I know
Uh-oh.
I can outrun John. So,
Yeah, you can.
but John, can you believe this? So I thought this is I have to find out if it's legitimate or not, because John might actually wanted to sign up for this, at least to do some research. So I went to human-bait.com for everybody who's thinking about going there, and here's what it did. The site is owned by a company called Cyber City Circuits, and what it does is it takes the URL, the address, and it redirected me to a YouTube video of Rick Roll, the Rick Astley. So it was two kids singing a Rick Astley song, "Never Gonna Give You Up." So I got Rick rolled, and that's what they do. It's a Rick rolling scam. Do you even know what Rick rolling is, John?
No, it's a new phrase to me.
Second new word for the week for some of our older
Right.
listeners. Rick rolling is this big internet thing where there was a 1987 video, "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick Astley, and people on the internet started posting pictures and scamming people into listening to it, and that was called Rick rolling. So this ad has been around for a while. It just showed up again. It was actually first run in 2014. But I thought I've never seen an ad like that for Bigfoot research. So I thought, why
Really?
not? Okay, so now we have another Bigfoot sighting. This one's in Arizona. This one's much better. So this is a photo from the Navajo Nation Reservation at Sally Lake in Arizona, and it shows what appears to be a silhouette of a what looks like the classic Bigfoot, almost with light behind it, that the witness believes was actually Bigfoot. Now, the photo was reportedly snapped last month by a guy who was fishing in the lake, and he saw this. Here's a quote. He says, "I noticed movement on the left side of my peripheral vision. I stood up and noticed something reddish with lots of hair. I dropped my rod. I got on my knees to get pictures. I tried to stay steady as possible because this thing was around 250 yards away." So the first thing I thought was he dropped his rod. What kind of fisherman drops his rod? Uh,
Really?
my rod would have shriveled up if I saw Bigfoot, but that's a that's a different problem completely. Uh,
Yes.
so he took pictures as it moved across the field, but this is the only picture that he submitted to the Rocky Mountain Bigfoot Association. So he says the bushes were 5 feet tall, which meant that the Bigfoot standing shoulders above the bushes is 6 to 7 feet tall. He said it was walking towards the lake, which meant it would be walking towards him before it changed its mind and walked away. He said it was not like a person. It had big strides. It was a surreal moment. He says, "We do have sightings here in the Chushka Mountains of the reservation." So the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch people said it looked like a Bigfoot to them. They said that there's been other Bigfoot sightings in that area. So John, you've had a chance to take a look at that Bigfoot photo. What do you think, for fill our listeners in on your views?
I think it's okay, but because of the distance, because it's so far away, it's really hard to determine if it's actually a Bigfoot. I mean, could it be? I guess, but I'm telling you honestly, I don't think I'm convinced that that's a Bigfoot.
I think I got good observation, John. I think silhouette is the key word here, because it looks more like a silhouette
Right,
than
right.
a detailed photo of Bigfoot. The light behind it bothers me too. I don't know. There was no explanation for why it was kind of glowing behind it.
Yeah, right.
It's an odd photo, but nonetheless, will we accept it? This guy certainly believed that he saw Bigfoot walking across the field. And movement's always a big one because a lot of times people see something, but it's not moving.
Right.
He swears that it was moving. So that's could be a bear. I don't know, but the thing that got me was the Rocky Mountain people said that there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in Arizona, and I finally figured out why that is. It's because Bigfoot has sinus problems and allergies. So he's moving down from Washington where there's all this greenery, moving to Arizona where it's dry, clear up his sinuses, maybe move back in a few years. I don't know.
Good
Okay,
point. Yeah, good point.
next up, next up, Loch Ness Monster. So the Loch Ness Monster is on vacation. Photos were taken of the Loch Ness Monster. Get ready for this, in Ireland. Now, my first thought is I can't call it Nessie because that's the Scottish version of the Loch Ness Monster. So, John, help me out here? What would a Loch Ness Monster in Ireland? What would you call it?
Boy, I don't know. Hey, you got me stumped on that one too, Paul.
How
I'm not
about
sure.
how about O'Nessie? O apostrophe Nessie. Like
The Onus,
O'Brien.
right? So like O'Brien, or yeah, right. Sure,
How
sure.
about, okay, I got another one. Nessie go bra.
Oh yeah, instead of
I
Aaron
don't
Gold.
even know what
There you
Eric
go.
Bra means, but Nessie go bra. So, so I was hoping that the Loch Ness Monster had a green hat on or was holding a green beer. So this comes from Dean Beatty is the guy's name. He's a 31-year-old barber. He saw this was not in a loch. This was in the Atlantic Ocean. He was on the shore of the Atlantic in County Donegal, which is near Ulster on the Atlantic coast of Ireland, on the northern portion of Ireland. Short distance off the shore, he said. He said he was flabbergasted, good word, but he managed to get his camera out and film it momentarily before the battery ran out. I don't know about that, a little sinister there, but nonetheless, here's another photo here with a convenient red circle around it so you can see in case you couldn't see the head sticking out there. I thought, this is Ireland. There should have been a pub nearby that he could have run in real quick and charged up the phone. So here's what he says. He says, it's not the best of videos as my phone died when I started to record, but it wasn't a swan, a seal, or anything I've ever seen. He was with someone else, sat and watched it for 20 minutes at least, going underwater, resurfacing a minute or so later, around 20 yards offshore. So this is in the ocean or an inlet of the ocean. So it's not a lake monster. I mean, it's a sea monster, not a sea monkey. We talked about those last week, a sea monster. And since it's in a lake, it's in the ocean, it's not a log. It would be, maybe it's a telephone pole or something. I'm not sure if you don't believe that it's the real Loch Ness monster. So, John, you've had a chance to look at those two photos. I'll put the bigger one up here. Awfully grainy there, but give it your best shot.
Well, on the second photo, again, it's kind of removed. That's could be, but again, I think less definitive than the first photo that you've had of the Loch Ness, supposedly. I mean, I think that one's a little bit more definitive. The
Yeah.
second one, maybe it's clear, it's a sharper image, but it's still really hard to pick out.
Yeah. Sharper image. That was a good catalog, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure.
so I agree with you, John. I think that the neck on the second photo looks more real, but the first photo shows what looks like there might be a body behind it.
Right.
So, but I don't know. What it's in the ocean. You can't tell exactly how big or how small it is. It could.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think these are representative of really most of the photos that we see of not only Bigfoot, but also of Loch Ness or
Loch Ness.
Loch Ness.
Yeah, O'Nessie in this case, O'Nessie.
He's right.
But at least we have a name if in case another Irish Bigfoot or another Irish monster shows up, we can call him O'Nessie.
Okay, good.
And on that O'Nessie of a messy note, I think we finished with our world records and our weird stories for the week. Let's see. That means it's time for What in the World of Sport with my old buddy John Donalo. Everybody knows who listens that John and I are old friends. We went to college together. We're fraternity brothers. John knows more about sports than anybody I know, and more about trivia. Uh, I challenge him every week to find a weird sport that fits with our theme of real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. John always manages to find a strange sport, often topping the strange sport that he just talked about a week ago. So we were only on 6 days ago. So this one's probably going to top that one. So John, take it away. I got your photos lined up.
That sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. So, interestingly enough, this week, our sport is really not weird or unusual in the truest sense of the word. Actually, it is a sport that is similar to, but different from, traditional pool. The sport is Kelly pool, and it is also known as pea pool, pill pool, Keeley, the Keeley game, and Killy.
You're
Now,
not supposed to pee in the pool, John. We know that.
sorry, what now?
I said you're not supposed to pee in the pool.
Oh no, yes, before no, yes, and definitely not here either. So,
It's
but Kelly
PEA.
pool,
I'm reading John's transcript. It's PEA, not PEE. For those of you out there who are already writing your nasty email to John, PEA pool. P pool.
Okay.
Continue.
that's right, as in split pea soup. But at any rate, so the sport again is Kelly pool, and it's a game where the players at random each draw one of 16 numbered markers called peas or pills from a shake bottle, which you can see displayed there, and then assigns to them the corresponding number pool ball kept secret from their opponents, but which they must pocket in order to win the game. So
Okay.
Kelly pools the rotation game, which means that players must contact the lowest numbered object ball on each shot first until the opportunity to pocket their own secret ball is presented.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if a player draws the number 16, this player is assigned the cue ball because there's again 15 numbered balls. In
Yeah.
order to pocket the cue ball, the player must contact the lowest numbered ball first, and in the same shot, pocket the cue ball. However, However, the game is commonly played by removing the P numbered 16 and playing with just the basic 15 numbered balls and corresponding Ps. So again,
Wow.
there are variations here as you see. Now, in Kelly Pool, there are two rule variants established under the rules, and this is for you, Karen, of the Billiard Congress of America, or the BCA.
Wow.
The people people. That's
Yeah.
what I call the PPP, the people people.
Oh, in the
Continue.
simpler, right. In the simpler form of the two, the object of play starts and ends with the goal of pocketing one's secret ball. In the second form, in addition to the goal of pocketing one's secret ball, points are scored in various ways. In the instance in which pills are unavailable, a cloth may be used to cover the balls, which are then chosen blindly, recorded, and replaced for play. So the one thing about this sport, if you will, is there are variables. There are variations of it that make it different. Now, the game Kelly Pool was reportedly invented by a Chicagoan named Callistus, and his nickname was Kelly Mulvaney in 1893. And then it became a very popular game during the early to mid 20th century. The game was commonly mentioned in newspapers across the U.S., often presented in a negative light, since the play was considered a stronghold of gambling.
Oh.
Authorities, believe it or not, in various parts of the U.S. at times called for a moratorium on the game's play, and get ready for this, until 1964, playing the game in Montana was a finable offense.
Wow.
Wow.
Many billiard-specific and etymological sources point to Kelly pool as the origin of the common expression behind the eight ball. Now, we've all heard that expression,
Yeah.
that I'm sure. However, others assume the expression was derived from the game of eight ball, but the expression actually became into use before eight ball was popularized. So, the National Billiard Association, which was the predecessor of the BCA, maintains that the expression comes from the fact that the eight ball being black is harder to see than other balls, thus resulting in an association with any difficult position.
Okay.
Now, you can draw your own conclusion as to the actual origin of the popular phrase behind the eight ball. However, one thing is clear. If you invite your friends over for a game of Kelly ball, make sure that they know the bottle isn't filled with beer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Why else would you invite people over to shoot pool these days but to drink
Right.
beer?
Well,
That's what
sure,
it's
sure.
invented for. A reason to
That's a
drink
natural. That's a natural, sure.
beer. Kelly Pool, better known as Pea Pool. I felt like we were Beavis and Butthead here. You know, he said, I'm sitting here thinking, he said he covered his balls.
Yeah, that's something that's part of what Beavis and Butthead would do. That's for or you speak of, for sure. Oh yeah.
Well, great sport there, John. I totally unexpected a variation on a pool table, which many of us have or had in our basements growing up, or for many years until you downsized and there was no room for a pool table anymore. Um, I was thinking, as unusual, my dad had a bottle like that, but I don't remember him playing pea pool or Kelly pool in our basement. But John, I don't know if you remember this, but way back when we were in college, there were pool tables in the lounges, and
Sure.
we actually played some version that may have been inspired by Kelly pool or pea pool. Do you remember doing something like that?
You'll have to refresh my memory again, Paul, as it seems that we have to do every week. But
Well, luckily I have a photo or two. So with all of the fraternity brothers like to play pool. We were challenged actually we did the challenging. We came up with a new sport that we called Kelly pool because one of us had heard about Kelly pool, but we didn't take the time that John did this week to research it. So all we knew is that there was an eight ball involved and some other stuff. So we ended up, here's a photo of us playing Kelly pool back then. So here's me dressed as an eight ball. Um, and behind the eight ball, as John described, is John in a pickup truck trying to nudge me down the street, which would be a giant
remember
pool.
this now, Paul. Yeah, it starts to come back to me now.
This,
Yes.
this may have been the St. Patrick's Day parade. I'm not sure, but
Oh, I'm
and
not sure in that
I
case.
found a photo of all of our fraternity brothers shooting pool, by the way. I think this was after a Browns game. Um, and they still had their dog costumes on. This is actually, for those of you who can't see it, the previous one was actually a guy in an eight ball costume. This one, most people have that famous photo of painting of dogs playing poker in their basement. I've never seen this before. This is a painting of the same dogs shooking pool in a
Love
basement.
it.
I would love to find that.
Yeah, that's really a neat. That's really a neat picture there. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? They might have been playing pee pool. God knows, dogs like to pee.
Oh,
No, it's time for to thank John for another great sport on What in
You're
Wellness.
welcome, Paul, Karen, and audience. Thank you.
And I think, yeah, there we go. Let me take that down here. And that means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. We play it every week. The rules are simple. I have three stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those stories were real, or as real as the internet gets. The stories in Bluff the co-host may be real, they may be bluffs. And it's up to John, Karen, and those of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed. So, John and Karen, hand on your buzzer. let's go right to story number one. We've seen images of Abraham Lincoln on toast and Jesus on a tortilla, but a woman in Iowa was walking across a parking lot when she spotted an oddly shaped wad of chewing gum on the cement. When she got closer, she recognized the shape of the gum, the shape the gum made, as the image of Freddie Mercury, the late lead singer of Queen, in his favorite pose with one fist held high in the air. She took a photo of it, and her friends on social media agreed that it looks like the Queen frontman. If Freddie were alive today, he'd probably honor this story with a new song, Another One Bites the Gum. Okay, so the lady who sees Freddie Mercury in a wad of gum stuck to a parking lot, real or bluff? Let's start with you, Karen.
Well, people see what they want to see. So I'm going to say it's true.
Oh, Karen says it's a real story. How about you, John?
I think this is a stretch, quite frankly, and I think it's a bluff. I don't think that the image of Freddie Mercury appeared in a wad of gum. I just don't think it's true.
Do
I
you
hope.
believe Jesus showed up on a piece of toast?
Well, I know about that. I heard about that one, Karen. But I'm gonna go against the grain in this one, in a sense, and I'm gonna say that it's not true.
Okay, well, John is always logical, and John, gum is stretchy, and you said it's a stretch. So there's your logic right there. So
No pun
John,
intended, of course, on that one, by the way.
John says that Freddie Mercury and gum is a bluff. Karen says it's a real story. Let's check with the judges. The judges say that congratulations go to Karen. That is a real story. And I have a big surprise for you because John always asks for photos of these things. Before we go, I have photos of the Freddie Mercury and gum, so you
I'm
can see it.
looking forward to seeing that. Okay, all right, okay.
And everybody else.
Congrats,
So,
Karen, on that one.
tune in on YouTube. All right, so scores 1-0. Karen's in the lead. Oh boy, John's starting to sweat. For those of you who can't see it, let's get right to story number two. Costume makers have been selling Halloween costumes for weeks now, so they have enough sales data to spot a trend. And that trend is that a surprise hit costume at parties this year will be the Ozempic shot costume. The two-piece women's costume looks like an authentic Ozempic syringe with a tight blue skirt and blue top and an orange and white waist made to look like the label that reads semaglutide injection on the front and has a list of warnings on the back, including may cause blurred vision, dizziness, burping, and other symptoms that could also be due to drinking at the party. But in an Ozempic costume. Order yours soon because the XXXL sizes of Ozempic costumes are already sold out. Okay, so the top costume this year so far is the Ozempic shot costume. Real or bluff? Let's start with you, John.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say, based on the popularity of Ozempic and the advertising you see for that, medical pen, I'm going to say it's a real story. I'm going to say it's true.
Oh, okay. Not even a stretch. John says it's true. Karen, how about you?
Yeah, I can see people thinking it's a great costume. There's always the costume of the year. So sure, it's real.
Wow. Okay. So both John and Karen think that this wild story of an Ozempic shot costume being the leading costume for sale in the United States is a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, ha ha, yeah, you're right. It is a real story.
All right. Way to go, Karen. Good job. Good job.
And I have another surprise for you. I have a picture of it coming up. So
Oh, this is great, Paul. This could become a new trend on both the co-hosts. Pictures to substantiate what you're saying. That'd be great. I think it'd be
there
great.
you go. Okay. All right. So that means the score is 2-1. But everybody knows points are doubled in round number 3. So John could come back. Karen currently is in the lead. Let's see if he does with story number 3. The hot new restaurant on Times Square in New York City is called the Bird Box. And the most popular sandwich at this fast food chicken emporium is the Claude the Claw, which is a large bun holding an entire deep fried chicken leg and thigh. The bun is big, but not big enough to hide the main attraction, which is the chicken's claw still attached to the end of the leg. Clawed the claw is supposed to be eaten like a sandwich, but many fans prefer to ditch the bun and hold the claw while gnawing on the leg and thigh. So many Broadway theater tourists are raving about the Clawed the Claw sandwich. The Bird Box expects to be opening franchises across the country soon. Okay, so the hot sandwich in the Broadway in Times Square is the Clawed the Claw chicken sandwich, which is a thigh and a leg with the claw still attached to it. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll go with you.
Well, I'm not sure how you eat a chicken leg sandwich. I mean, there's a bone. Let's forget the foot. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Forget the foot. That's my philosophy. Forget the foot. Okay, so Karen says it sounds impossible. She says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think this is a bluff. I mean, I think the picture or the idea of a chicken claw on a sandwich, I mean, how appetizing and how appealing can that be, especially to Broadway showgoers. I mean, you want to have a good evening, you want to have something good to eat, and you have to eat it with the claw of a chicken. I just don't see it.
People spending hundreds of dollars on Broadway theater tickets and eating a fried chicken claw doesn't sound real at all.
No, it doesn't sound real at all. That's the best way to say it.
A bluff. Definitely a bluff. They both say it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, well, the next time you're in New York City, go down to Times Square to the Bird Box, and you will see the Clawed the Claw sandwich. And if you don't believe me,
got a picture on this one too.
Bring them up here. Yeah. Let's get our photos up here real quick. So there's Freddie Mercury. There's Freddie Mercury, the chewing gum Freddie Mercury.
Wait a second. I mean, that's not even close. I mean, you just make up somebody else's name. I mean, why is that Freddie Mercury?
No, it's definitely Freddie Mercury. You've seen the photos. He's always got his arm up, one arm in the air.
Come on, Paul. That's really it's more than a stretch. It's more than a stretch, Paul and Karen. It really
I agree.
That is terrible.
Okay, how about this one? We'll go. What was the second one? The second one was the Ozempic.
Ozempic pen.
Here's the Ozempic costume. Oh,
wow. Okay. Hey, my Ozempic pens don't look like that. I'll tell you that. Holy cow.
I think it would make this more realistic. She has a weird looking hat on, like a pillbox hat. Maybe that's the idea. It's a pillbox, but I would think something with a needle on the top of it will top that off.
That's probably the plunger.
A plunger.
Oh, that's not, Karen. I think you're right. I mean, because that's what you do actually at the end of the pen.
Karen, that's it.
There's the plunger.
Karen, there's still some available. This could be your costume this year.
I'm not wearing a costume this year.
Oh no, we don't want to know about that. Okay, I don't know what kind of party you're going to. We don't want to know about. Okay, and the last one was Clawed the Claw. Get ready for this. There is the Clawed the Claw.
That is gross.
No.
Yes. And Karen, to answer your question, I don't understand. But it is truly a leg and a thigh with the bones in it. So even though it's on a bun, you somehow have to eat around the bones, which is probably why people just grab onto the claw and pull it out.
Let me offer this. I understand the novelty of this, but I mean, how interested, how appetizing is that for people to want to eat that?
I don't know. I don't know. People in New York, it's got to be tourists, sitting there in line. They just spent $500 on Hamilton tickets, and they're hungry, and all they can afford is a chicken leg with the claw still attached to it. It's New York, but it really is selling not like hotcakes, but like chicken legs.
My God.
And on that note, I better take that photo down before anybody gets sick here.
I'd rather see Freddie that picture of Freddie Mercury in gum or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send it to you, John, so you can analyze it for us
All
for the
right,
next.
sounds good. That sounds good.
Speaking of the next show, it's time for the next show. We finished up this week's version of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, and our producer. Karen, thank you as always for everything you do for our show, for all of the podcasts, for Yes I Can coaching. Please check out newclevelandradio.net. Find out all about the podcast. Find out where to download them. Find out about Karen's coaching services. You'll be glad you did. And then, of course, my old buddy, always a good sport, our sports guy, John Denalo. John, thanks again. Good seeing you. Be ready. Hopefully, we'll see a winning football game this week that we can talk about next week.
Oh, that sounds great. And also, congratulations to Karen on Bluff the co-host winning again. Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did.
Well,
Getting to be old.
I'm
Yeah,
just hoping that
winning so often, John.
I'm hoping the shame's not too much for me to bear, seeing how I like.
And I'll send you a Claude the Claw sandwich that you can gnaw, and maybe that'll help you feel better.
That'll take my mind off things. That's good, Paul. That sounds great.
All right. And of course, we wouldn't do this show if it weren't for our listeners. You're the reason why we do it. I want to thank everybody who tunes into our podcast on whatever podcast platform. Sometimes we're live. We blame Zoom for the fact that we're not live this week, but we appreciate you listening to us in the future on whatever platform you download us from, or on YouTube. Especially on YouTube, you can see what the Freddie Mercury made out of gum looks like. And on that note, I can't believe we're going to sign off on Freddie Mercury as gum, but that's what we'll do. Next week, we're back. We're still on Tuesdays.
Yep.
So we will. It will be the October 8th. So same time, same place. And on that note, I think we'll say goodbye. I hope everybody has good weather where they're at.
Have a good week,
Good day,
everybody.
everybody. Bye now.